Hey everyone, Doug here, Doug Johnson Productions, Orem, Utah. I got another product review, here for you. The product I'm talking about today is the Decimator Design DMON-QUAD. So this is a 4-input multi-viewer from Decimator. This competes with Blackmagic multi-viewers, especially now that Blackmagic had introduced a brand new, less expensive multi-viewer at NAB a couple weeks ago. I brought one of these in. This has been paid for by Patreon supporters. If you want to support the channel and help bring products in for review, you can become a Patreon supporter or patron. Patreon.com/DJProd, that's for Doug Johnson Productions. So the idea with those is to purchase products that I don't normally use in the course of production, things that I don't normally need, and I'll bring them in, review them, turn around and sell them, and use the money from the sale with new Patreon money in order to, over time, bring in more expensive products. So this one is month 2 of the Patreon campaign, and yeah, so this little product is actually pretty cool. If you have never used a multi-viewer before, basically the idea is you take multiple video sources and put on one monitor. As you can see over here, I've got 4 video sources coming into here, and this is outputting there on this Sony monitor. So what I've got going on here is sources 1, 2, and 3 are some videos from the last production that we did, and then 4 I just took the camera that I'm using here today. So let me just talk about some of the differences between this and the Blackmagic. The Blackmagic multi-viewer is really meant to be a single-purpose device. So 4 video sources in, display them in a quad view. Not much by the way of customization. This, however, is kind of the exact opposite of that. This allows all kinds of customization of the different displays that you can get. So I'll take you through the software here in a minute. But a lot of the different configuration that you can actually do through the buttons here and then the LCD screen that's there. So you don't have to have a connected computer, although it certainly does make things a lot easier. Computer connects via USB cable included with the device, and this thing has, like I say, customization like crazy. You can do all sorts of nifty stuff, and I could spend over an hour talking about the different customization options that are available within the software. I'm only going to hit some of the highlights because this thing is so feature packed, and I want to keep the video under manageable length. So, but just physically going over the device. So you've got 4 SDI inputs here, and then a SDI output. And as I mentioned, this goes directly over to this monitor. I've also got it hooked up to my switcher here, so I can give you guys a full screen display of the output of that. Then on the opposite side, you have power input, USB port for connecting computer for firmware upgrades and configuration, an HDMI port, so you can connect to a monitor over HDMI, which allows you to use consumer television, computer monitors, that type of thing. And then an RJ45 port, and this allows you to do a couple different things. So 4 of the pins are designated for tally, so you can actually do tally boxes around the different sources. 2 of the pins are designated for RS485, so serial communication with the device. And then I believe the others are power and ground. I know there's at least a ground in there, but so yeah, you can actually use, I believe it's TTL level signals. Actually, it's ground. When you ground the pins, that turns the tally on. Anyway, so you do have a physical connection there that you can use to activate tally. So that makes it compatible with pretty much anybody's system, because one way or another, every switcher out there that I've ever encountered has just kind of a generic GPI style tally output. So you'll be able to wire that into here and do on-screen tally for those devices. As mentioned, it does have configuration options via the 4 buttons here. So you have a left and right, a back, and an enter. And the screen shows up to 4 lines of text at a time. It is actually backlit, so yeah, there we go. So pressing a button turns the backlight on, so you can see it in the dark. So yeah, menu options are pretty extensive in terms of how you can configure it. So things as simple as routing and changing. Say, for example, you, for whatever reason, you wanted to show 2 copies of one video source in two different windows. You can do that through the menu. You can choose what layout you want to have for the different screens. So a lot of different things going on there. In terms of the physical build of the device, this thing, like other Decimator Design products, feels like it's absolutely bulletproof, and it's very, very solid. It's got a little bit of heft to it, so you feel like you're getting something substantial, not something cheesy made out of plastic or anything like that. The build quality is quite good. In terms of the power adapter, it comes with a power adapter that's without any additional adapter plugs on the end. Allows you to plug into the power in the US and other countries that use the same power connector, and then has adapters for several other different regions. So Australia, UK, and Europe, I believe, are the 3 that are included in the box. So power this from a lot of different sources. It's also pretty flexible on the voltage input. It accepts anywhere from 5 volts up to 32 volts DC, and that's a standard 5.5 millimeter with a 2.5 millimeter pin inside. So it's kind of your standard DC barrel connector there. Alright, so now, that said, let me actually switch to it, and I will, once I re-log into my computer here, show you just a couple different layouts. So you can choose the number of displays you want to have on screen at once. So you can do just a single display, or you can do 2 displays. In this case, I did customize it to a picture-in-picture. You can do 3 displays, or again, you can go back to the 4. One of the cool things about this product compared to the other multi-viewers that are sort of in this price range is those layouts are totally flexible. So you can say, not only do I want 2 windows on screen, you can size them and move them around however you want. So like the picture-in-picture, that was not a default configuration. And if I go back there and choose the 2-window configuration here, alright, and then if I go to choose a different customized layout, there you go. Now you get side by side. So a couple other things worth mentioning here. You notice that I've got the level meters enabled. You can do level meters, I believe, for up to 8 channels, because you can do. Let me actually turn a couple on. And these video sources that I'm playing only have 2 channels each, but you can say, for example, on the left, I want to have 4 channels, and then have 4 channels on the right, and that's done on a per window basis. So if you have some video sources where having an audio level meter doesn't make any sense, maybe a camera where you're not using the audio, you can just completely turn those off if you want. So yeah, I'll turn the meters off there on the left. There we go. And turn those back on. Also, there's some text that's overlaid on top of those. They call it the UMD. And if I wanted to change the text to say UMD1, instead of saying UMD1, I can say hi there, and then it changes the text instantly there. So you can label those video sources any way you want. So you can also customize the color of the text as well. It came in yellow. I switched it to white, and you can set a background color behind that as well. So let me go back to multi-view here and do 4, because it allows you to see a little bit better. And so you notice behind the text there's actually a black background, and again, those are not just customizable in terms of the color, but also the transparency as well. So if you wanted to have those have a lot of transparency behind them, so you're able to see the video a little bit better, you can absolutely set that. Let's see some of the other cool things here. So let me actually just switch to the display for the software here. So this uses the USB control panel software from Decimator Design. It's the same software that you use to control a lot of their converter products, such as the MDHX, MDLX, MIDI Cross, and so forth. The software is kind of generic. It supports a lot of different devices. So the first thing you'll do when you come in here is you hit the scan button. And that will find any devices that are connected over USB. And I have had absolutely no problem connecting devices through a USB hub. That's absolutely worked just fine. And once you've done the scan, you'll choose the device you want to control in the drop-down box there. So Start over here on the status page. You can actually give the device a name if you wanted to. I haven't bothered here, but it also shows you the firmware version. I did check this version that I'm running here, 1.0 is the latest. Also on here you have status for the four inputs. Now if you come over to the control tab, this is where you can set the HDMI video format, and you can specify whether, when the device is configured to do 3G SDI, whether it outputs level A or level B. I've got it set for level B because that's the most compatible with the video systems that I use. And then this is where things start to get a little bit interesting in the MultiView tab here. So I'm going to switch back over. So okay, output select. So you have options for MultiViewer, Window 1, Window 2, Window 3, and Window 4. So let me switch it back over to the display of that, and you'll see what those does. So right now it's on MultiViewer, and if I switch to Window 1, it makes Window 1 go full screen, Window 2 makes Window 2 go full screen, and so forth. So allows you to quickly select. If you wanted to go full screen with one of your video sources, you can do that through that input there, or through that selection there. The next thing they have on here is the output format select. This is a pretty cool option because you're able to select any of these resolutions for output. Right now I've got it set for 1080p 2398 because that's the video the format that I happen to be shooting right now. But you can choose anything you want. You know, this does have options all the way up to 1080p 5994, and for areas of the world that do 25 and 50 frames per second, those are options as well. So you can choose any of those options that you want. That's an area where this definitely stands out over the Blackmagic offering because their MultiViewers only offer a couple of different resolutions. Alright, so and then the next option here is where you specify the number of viewers that you want to have on screen. So a minute ago when I was showing you two sources on screen, that's exactly where I set that. So you can do 1, 2, 3, or 4. I'll talk about the layouts here in a minute because that actually comes into play with this, but so come down a little bit further. So these are essentially presets for different layouts, and you notice that only the first 8 here are set, and then there's a couple down at the bottom that are also preset. Those actually aren't useful. I'll show you what those look like here. So I switch to the left to right view, and there you go. So you're getting 4 video sources squished side by side. But that does demonstrate one important capability of this device, in that the video doesn't have to be its original aspect ratio. So if you were okay squishing down the video so you can get more on screen, yeah, you can absolutely do that. It will let you do that for sure. So okay, so the next option here is where you set the audio source. So the device only outputs audio. It doesn't do any mixing of channels. So basically what you do is you just choose which one of your 4 video sources is going to be used for the audio output. You set a reference, so that's for sync purposes. Full screen is scaled. It's basically telling you whether, when you go full screen, whether it converts to the video format you selected or passes through the original video format. And then a couple of options for on-screen displays. So for example, when let me actually show you this. So go to, let me switch this back to a little more manageable, a little more usable view here. But that will demonstrate what I'm trying to show you. So when I select a different layout here, so you'll notice that up top it shows, up top of each one of those, it shows HD 1080p 2398. So that's showing you briefly what video source is being displayed. And if I was to disconnect one of the video sources, it'll say no signal there for a minute, and then if I plug it back in, it again tells what video format is being input. So I think I forgot to mention that any of the sources can be any supported video format. So this supports standard def all the way up through 1080p 5994 50 or 60 frames per second. So any of your sources can be any of those formats. The device can freely mix and match. Has no issue with that whatsoever. Alright, so going back to the software. So on-screen audio source ID, same sort of thing. You choose how long it displays any sort of messages, and then you can tell whether they're basically set up the way that it does tally. So you can have a tally applied to tally boxes or to a border And then there's a transparency option, so your tally box, your tally indicator can actually be partially transparent. All right, now you come over in the Layouts tab, and this is where things actually get kind of interesting. So, basically, it's kind of interesting here because when each one of these different layouts, well, first of all, you can customize them, but there are different settings for the different number of windows. Say, for example, let me actually show you here. So, I'll go to MultiView, and then I'm going to choose. Well, we'll start with 4. So if I switch back to that, you'll see there's 4 on screen. Now if I select 3, it's not just hiding one of those windows. It's that the layout is actually different. So each one of these presets actually has different layouts for the different number of sources. And if I select 2, you'll see that it goes to a side-by-side. And then select 1, it goes to full screen. So each one of these things is sort of like its own preset within a single layout preset, if that makes any sense. So come back over to the software here. So as I'm configuring this, so I've selected that I'm customizing layout 10 with the 3-window version of it. So if you look on screen here, in this little preview, it shows that source 1 is going to be taking up the largest portion of the screen, and then sources 2 and 3 are actually going to be overlaid on top of that. So now if I go back over to the multi-view, and then I choose multi-view layout 10, which is the one I was playing with a moment ago, and then set it to 3, and then I switch back over, you can see that source 1 takes up the majority of the screen, and then 2 and 3 are actually overlaid on top. Another interesting thing you'll see here, that the audio level meters are kind of in a weird spot, and that's because I moved the video window without moving the audio level meters, and the location of those are actually configured separately. So again, more customization. You can customize an awful lot about the way these things work. So all right, now back over in on the layout screen. So this is under a second set of tabs here, so you can specify where the windows are located and their size, and you can also specify the size of the border. You can specify aspect ratios and like how the video is actually displayed. So you can either say, if it's HD video, display it as 16:9, or fill the window, and that's where you get your options to do any kind of stretching. And then similar thing for standard def. So you can either say 16:9, 4:3, or fill the window. The UMDs tab lets you specify where those UMD, the text labels, actually show up. So not just the X and Y location, but also the size. Status lets you specify where the status information is, so such as the video format, shows where that is displayed on screen. And then tallies, you can actually specify the location of tally information, and then, as mentioned, you can modify the location of the actual meters. Coming over to the routing tab, this lets you do some simple routing as mentioned. So for example, if I want input 1 to go to both Windows 1 and 2, I can specify that. Now if I switch back over, you can see that Windows 1 and 2 up top are both displaying the same video source from input 1. And then if I change 2 to source 2, it flips over to that. So really basic routing there. The UMDs tab is where you actually set those text labels, and the audio meters where you specify how many meters. So basically, so you specify the number of pairs of audio channels on the left side and the number of pairs on the right side. So for example, if I do 1 and 0, that's a total of 1 pair, and it shows that 1 pair on the left. Or if I did 2 and 2, that would show a total of 4 pairs or 8 channels of audio, 2 pairs on the left and 2 pairs on the right. So you have that customization. You can also set whether you want the bar and the float, or the bar only, or the float only. You set a level of transparency. You can turn the scale on and off. You can set what type of scale is actually being used, as well as being able to set the ballistics. So, VU style meter for the bar, and then IEC2 for the float. You can also set the reference point, and then the audio levels where the yellow range starts and where the green range starts. So a lot of different customizations there. A couple other options. going to be kind of obscure where you might use this, but you can actually do horizontal and vertical flip for any of your video sources. You can also set, this is where you set your colors, so overall background color, the color for the borders. Also set the UMD, which is the text, foreground color and background color. The format status messages, so the color for both foreground and background. GPI, again, this is use of the that RJ45 input. Okay, yeah, so I was wrong. There's no power. It's so basically, yeah, if you ground pin 1, that basically tells the device that tally 1 should be active, pin 2 is tally 2, and so forth. And then pins 4 and 5 are your RS485. And since that's a balanced line type of connection, you have plus and minus instead of a data and ground. You can also have a couple different configurations for that. So customization based on whatever your needs happen to be. And then the last thing here is some setup options for the device itself. So you can specify how long the backlight stays on the LCD on the front of the device, and then how long it takes before it returns to the main screen, the first level of the menu. And autosave tells whether, as you make changes, those are automatically saved for the next time the device is powered up. And then you can also specify some options for demos. So, but that's kind of the gist of it. But the bottom line for this thing is that it's actually a really cool little device. If they had a Ultra HD version of this thing, I would pick them up in a heartbeat and use them fairly extensively. As you can see in my trailer, I'll really take advantage of multi-viewers, and the capabilities of this thing is absolutely awesome. But as it stands, they don't support Ultra HD, and so therefore, in my particular situation, this is not of a lot of use. But for anybody that's shooting standard def or high def, this, in my opinion, is an awesome little product. I would highly recommend it. Pricing on it is $295 in the US, which is actually pretty affordable for a multi-viewer. You know, you go to multi-viewer from a brand other than Decimator or Blackmagic, and you're easily over $1,000. You know, $1,500, $2,000 for a 4-channel multi-viewer from from another brand is not uncommon. So. But this little product is cool. You know, I have a lot of respect for the Decimator Design brand, and after playing with this, I have to say that I respect them even more. I love their converters, their MD HX, MD Cross, MD LX. Those are awesome little products as well. And after having used this the DMON-QUAD, again, I really have a lot more respect for the Decimator brand. I would recommend this for anybody who needs a multi-viewer and you're not shooting ultra high def. So anyway, there it is. If you guys have questions about it, go ahead and feel free to leave them in the comments down below. I'll try and answer them as best as I can. I should note that since this is a product that was purchased from funds from Patreon supporters, that I am going to be selling it. So I'm not going to be able to play around with it to answer your questions. So after this video is posted, I may not be able to answer some particular questions because I won't have the device in my possession any longer. But anyway, so yeah, questions, leave them in the comments. I appreciate you guys watching quite a bit, and be sure to like the video, to subscribe to the channel, and share the video with your friends. Very much appreciated. Again, if you want to help to bring more products like this to my channel for not just review, but just kind of an overview, and take it through its paces, walk through the different options that it has. Please consider becoming a patron for the channel, and you can do that through Patreon, and the link for that is right up there. So yeah. Again, thank you guys for watching, and have a fantastic day.